What's up, guys? This is Storm, and I'm coming at you with a little updated video evolving around the whole Sony and Bluepoint situation. If you have not heard, Sony is shutting down Bluepoint Studio Game Studio at the beginning of March. This caused quite a big stir on social media. Fans are wondering why would PlayStation do this. uh, all this and that, basically putting the blame on PlayStation and their higher ups that are supposed to be watching their first party. But a little bit of new information had come out by somebody who go by the name of Detective Seed, and I don't know how credible when it comes to his journalism and stuff, but he has put out a little bit of info involving the situation, which could potentially be true. But like I said, I don't know this man credentials and stuff, evolving with journalism and knowing about the inside stuff. So what I'm gonna tell you, take it with a grain of salt. But apparently on LinkedIn, he managed to get in communication with two uh, developers of Bluepoint. One that couldn't really talk, and one decided to give out some little bit of information. But apparently, it turns out after Demon Soul remake that came out in 2020, Bluepoint had pitched an idea to Sony to make a God of War multiplayer game. But at some point, even though the project was greenlit, it was later canceled last year, which caused a pretty big stir in the gaming media because people are wondering why would Sony let Bluepoint, who our specialty is making remakes and remaster games, wanted to make them a multiplayer game, which feeds to the whole thing that Sony pushing the whole games as a service scenario on their first party studios. But if this information turned out to be true, it was actually Bluepoint Games gave pitched the idea to Sony, and Sony gave them the green lit on doing it. And we all know PlayStation do have this thing; they do give their developers creative freedom and stuff. If they pitch an idea to the game, they give it them to make the game and stuff. But unfortunately, in this kind of scenario, it did not plan that well. The person who Detective C talked to go into more detail that unfortunately, even though they were greenlit to do this project, they missed multiple deadlines on updates on the game, which resulted in, unfortunately, the game being canceled. But also, there have been other projects that Bluepoint had pitched to Sony, and unfortunately, some of those projects that they pitched to were like remakes of certain games. We don't know what they are, but it just unfortunately those were later denied because PlayStation didn't think those games would sell in the current market. And I believe they're going by off of how much like the Demon Soul remake sold. We haven't got any updated numbers on it. The last number I seen about it was it sold 1.8 million as of 2023. So we don't know how much did it actually sold and stuff. I kind of do blame it on the COVID situation because during that time, people had difficulty getting a PS5. And some of the Soul fans, when it comes to Demon Soul, didn't like the more realistic art direction that the Demon Soul remake went with, which, in my opinion, doesn't make any sense, but I'm not a purist. They felt the pressure of trying to push that out because of the whole Concord cancellation situation, and apparently it, they had in 2025 of last year to pitch them a new idea. But by the time of that God of War multiplayer was canceled, they apparently had nothing in the works. So, and it's kind of crazy the more I look into it. It said like one stated that PlayStation did offer them job opportunity within SIE due to what they do. The other say they did not have the help in getting jobs within SIE. So it's pretty much Sony is good, still going to keep some of the developers of Bluepoint and putting them in other PlayStation studios, which I figured they would do that, and some are not. He further to say the atmosphere has soured in their view after the God of War project was canceled. Then got worse after projects they were pitching kept being turned down. They said several had left the studio prior to closing. They thought headcount was in the 50s at the time of closing, maybe 60s. Bluepoint was in the range of having 70 to 100 developers in the studio and stuff. So, he asked them about the potential studio closings. One did not want to discuss studios that did not work. They did not work at. The others say they have friends at other studios. They are a few studios that believe they will be closed or more staff reduction in the near future. One did give names of studios that thought were next, but asked me not to share this part out of respect to those other studios still operating, and I agreed. So, by the sound, there are potentially more studios could get shut down in the future, or more layoffs could happen and stuff. And it is kind of sad to hear and stuff. But like I said, take everything that I said from what this person is saying with a grain of salt, because we don't know if this is 100% true or not. But as it stands right now, by the sound of it, not all the blame should be put on PlayStation. It kind of, how I feel right now is definitely like a 730 or 60-40 split. 40% to Bluepoint and 70 to PlayStation, because PlayStation should have checked in on them and to see what they could do to do something different than the God of War multiplayer, and also should at least give them a second chance of trying to do something different, like give them a little bit more time. But on the other side, why would Bluepoint would want to do a multiplayer game that they have no expertise in that field whatsoever, and they have no expertise in that field, and also what else I could say for Bluepoint, about the whole missing deadlines and stuff. Like, if they were fully committed to doing the multiplayer stuff, they could at least try to hunker down, I guess. But in all honesty, PlayStation should have done better management of them, and Bluepoint should have stick to what they know best, which is doing the remakes or remaster. But as I looked at the more information, apparently when they pitched some remake games to do, one of them was denied, but the other one is being worked on at a different studio, which had people believe it could be the God of War remake that was announced at State of Play on the 2013. But I don't know if that could be it. It potentially could be, judging on the timing of the reveal or something. But because it's kind of weird that Santa Monica is doing a remake, which I believe Bluepoint would have been the better choice to do it. But I digress. So I'm gonna probably hold on for information with that. But he did say there was somebody else that wanted to speak to him, that wanted to create more understanding on the details of this, like giving more nuance and stuff, which he said he's currently putting together for next month. So I'll probably do like a updated video on this if he gives out more information involving the whole closure of Bluepoint Studios. But as it currently stands, it still sucks that it's being closed and stuff. But at the same time, like, we're in the age that people want developers to take risks, but at the same time they don't want to support that studio, if that makes sense. Like for example, people say like, oh, they made that amazing game Demon Souls remake, but I'm like, people did not buy that game, unfortunately. Like, nobody did buy Demon Souls remake. It only sold 1.9, and somebody put together a list of games that Bluepoint have created, and all those games put together, that sold 7.6 million lifetime sales with all their games combined, which is so way less than one first party game from a PlayStation studio like Insomnia, Sucker Punch, Santa Monica. So like I said, I'll keep you posted and more information come out. But that's where I currently stand on this. What do you guys say? Do you take what Detective Seed said as a clear confirmation, or does this give us a more detail what's going on? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.